Welcome back to the Voracious Podcast. And it's your host, Anwar, checking in here today. I'm so grateful for you guys to join me today. Today, we got a really exciting and interesting topic today called Behind the Beat. We're going to talk about why so many artists in the music industry are broke. Majority of the artists in the music industry are broke. We're going to go beyond the music and uncover what the music industry really is like, what it really looks like. We're going to go into some depth. We're going to discuss some numbers, and we're going to discuss how all these rappers and all these artists out here capping at the end of the day. And for those that don't know, the older audience capping is basically lying. So just, trying to keep you guys informed too, because I appreciate my more mature audience members as well. So today we're tackling a burning question. Why do so many artists struggle financially? Even when their music has millions of streams, we see these artists still struggling financially. We see their homes being repossessed. We see them selling off $1 million cars and things of that nature. They're just not able to maintain a certain lifestyle. So to answer that, we're going to start sharing numbers, real industry splits, and the economics that shape the modern world. Part one, the engine and the trap. So this is the beginning stages of the whole process. There's an engine and there is a trap. Streaming platforms pay money every time a song is played, but the amount per play is very, very small. The amount of money that these artists are getting is very little, and it's minute. Most, if not all, of the money is going towards the major record labels who are streaming their platforms. Apple, Spotify, these other major companies that are actually streaming their music, they're getting the largest cut. And it's crazy because the people who need the largest cut are the people who are making the actual music that we enjoy. Streaming platforms pay money every time a song is played, but a very small amount is ever really paid out. Let's break down a few averages. So streaming payouts per play. So this is just approximate. So for Spotify, on average, people are going to get about 0.003 of a cent, or even up to 0.005 of a cent per stream on average. Apple Music often around 0.006 or even 0.01 per stream. Higher than Spotify, but come on, imagine that. It took you years to get famous. You have finally made the connections with the right people. You get into the studio, you start actually recording songs, and then whenever your song blows up, right, it goes big and everybody wants to have you come perform. They want to have you perform on stage at the Grammys and things like that. And you're thinking finally your big break comes. The music industry finds you. They have you sign the contracts. And then you really figure out how little you're actually being paid. But I think what happens a lot of time is that people are so excited in order to be part of the music industry that they just kind of negate the fact that, hey, I'm not even being paid one whole cent in terms of what I am earning off of my streams. Other platforms pay way less. Some are paying 0.002 to 0.012%, less than a cent per play, depending on the service. So what does that actually mean? Average earnings and numbers of streams. So let's take a look at this. So if your favorite artist is, let's say they have 1,000 streams on Spotify, they may earn enough for $3 to $5 on Spotify, even maybe enough for a cup of coffee. Think about that. All your hard-earned work, 1,000 streams, and you may make $3 to $5. $3 to $5. It's a ripoff. And these young people are being taken advantage of because they desire fame so quickly, and they desire to live in this lifestyle of what appears to be abundance and to be influential and to travel the world and to live out their dreams. And these record companies, these raggedy record companies, know that that's what these young people are reliant on. Even if you get up to 100,000 streams, let's say you get up to 100,000 streams, that's roughly $300 to $500. Not enough for a year's rent in most cities. Think about that, $300 to $500. It's not even enough for most rent. You mean to tell me 100,000 streams? Imagine if you had 100,000 people that attended a concert for you, or if you went to several cities and you had 100,000 people that actually participated, spent money on tickets, bought merch and things of that nature. You could understand why, and we'll get into that as well, is why most artists are touring, is because that's where the real revenue is. Even if you had 1 million streams, roughly 3,000 or 5,000 on Spotify before all expenses and splits take place. Because that's the thing you got to keep in mind. If you're making $300 to $500 on 100,000 streams, that money still got to be broken up amongst your team, right? The managers got to get theirs. The producers has to get their money. You have to get your small portion. Everyone else is getting paid before you get paid. Even at these levels, artists often don't see where all the money goes and what goes into it and why. That's what people are failing to realize, is that by the time the artist gets their check, there's nothing left. It's chicken change. It's crumbs. There are literally crumbs left in order for them to survive. Part 2, industry splits and label cuts. This is what we're getting to. Industry splits and label cuts. So one reason artists struggle is because they usually don't keep most of the streaming revenue that's generated on their music. Imagine doing all the work and you don't get any of the profit. Sounds like slavery. Does that sound familiar? You do all of the work and you get very little, if any, profit. That is basically what slavery was. And of course, a lot of other horrible things that took place as well. But here's the typical revenue split and how it works when it's monetized. Streaming platforms take a cut, first often 30 to 35%. You imagine someone taking, so you started 100%, someone takes 30 to 35%. That's just a streaming platform. That's not even anybody else's hand is out. That's not paying for any producers or anything of that nature. That's just a streaming platform. The remainder goes into a pool and is distributed to the rights holders, like the record labels and publishers, not directly to the artists. Oh my God, this is crazy. This is actually bewildering to think that these people are being ripped off like this. And you see them with all the flashy cars, and you see them with all the jewelry around their neck. You see them with the mansions. Remember MTV Cribs back in the day? Remember when people used to be on MTV Cribs and they used to be chilling, kicking it? Welcome to my crib. This is my crib. Come to find out years later, most of those places were rented. They weren't even real places. They weren't even, these rappers didn't even own these homes. These were homes that were rented out by record labels in order to make it seem like these rappers and artists were making a ton of money. So record labels also, check this out now, record labels, about 65 to 85% of streaming revenue goes to the label if the artist is signed. So we already got 30% off the top. Now we got 65 to 85%. Artists often receive 15 to 20% of the label share after expenses. So after the label has paid all their bills and taken care of their people, you get the chicken change. You get what's left over. Think about that, guys. If you're thinking about going into the music industry, think about that. You are getting the chicken change that's left over. And then don't forget about the publishers and songwriters. They get a separate portion depending on publishing ownership. You mean to tell me they need money too? I get it. People have to get paid, but my God. So the publishers and the songwriters, they haven't even got their money yet. The label gets theirs, publishers and songwriters get theirs, and we're still trying to work our way to get you yours. And yours is going to be the least amount of the cut because these other people that are in the industry have been in there so long, they've established themselves and they're making most of the money. In many traditional deals, the label recoups all advance money and promotional costs before the artist sees a penny. Yeah, I know. I know you probably heard about that. A lot of times before the artist even gets started, right, they need front money. In order to live this lavish life and buy the Louis Vuitton clothes and the Gucci belt and the exotic cars, the label will front them these items, right? And everything is at a cost. It's like making a deal with the devil. That could be a podcast we can get into about the satanic issues inside of the music industry. I know it's a hot topic, and if you guys want to talk about that, I'd love to have that dialogue with you, but let's stay focused here because we can go all day. So think about that. So before you even see a penny, the label has paid their money. The publishers need their money. Other people that are inside of the industry need their money. And if a track earns $4,000 from 1 million streams, the label may take 80 to 85% before the artist share is even calculated, leaving the artist with maybe $600 or less before expenses. Let that marinate. That's crazy. That is crazy. $4,000, and you mean to tell me that the artist will only get 80 to 85%? Oh, I'm sorry. They will take 80 to 85%. Think about that. They will take 80 to 85%, leaving the artist with only $600. And these record labels and executives sleep like babies at night. These people can't have a conscience. These record labels and execs, they can't have souls. They really cannot have souls because there is no reason why they would need to take such a large portion of the revenue from such a small artist. $4,000 and they take 80 to 85%. And that's not even a guarantee. Some artists negotiate better splits, but it's common structure in a major label deal that the artist may only make $600 from a major song. that's gone super viral, that's being downloaded a lot, that's being streamed a lot, that they may only make $600. Shaking my head. I don't even know where to go with this, guys. I don't even know where to go. Are you guys in the music industry? Anybody out there in the music industry aspiring to be an artist, wants to take it to the next level? You're close. Maybe you're at that ceiling. Maybe you're working with some of these high-end producers or beat makers. Maybe you are actively recording some of the tracks that you dreamed of as a kid, and you're seeing these splits, or you've been in the music industry. We would love to hear from you here at the Voracious Podcast. We would love to hear from you. If you're actually dealing with these splits, if you're actually been robbed by the music industry, please drop us a line. We'd love to have a dialogue with you. Part 3, the big picture. How many artists actually profit? Now, this is the thing. We see Jay-Z, we see Beyonce, we see Taylor Swift. We see some of the top tier artists who have made millions, if not billions of dollars in or out of the music industry. But the music industry was a catalyst that they used in order to propel their career. We've seen them utilize it in a proper manner. And these people are the top 1% of the music industry. How many more Beyoncés will there be? Beyonce would be the equivalent of Tina Turner in my parents' time, right? She would be at that level in terms of stardom, ability to earn international recognition. So now let's look at real outcomes across the country. Major streaming platforms like Spotify publish reports on artists, and the numbers are revealing and disturbing. I will say that. In 2024, Spotify paid over $10 billion in royalties to the rights in some of the largest music industries possible. They paid over $10 billion in royalties. So nearly 1,500 artists earned at least $1 million in royalties from Spotify alone that year. Don't forget about your taxes. That number sounds big, right? You think of $1 million, you're like, wow, artists earned $1 million. We know $1 million doesn't stretch as far as it used to. If you had $1 million in the 80s, that probably would have been like $5-6 million now. If you had $1 million in the 70s, you probably would have been probably close to $50 million in the 70s. The 1,500 artists are a tiny fraction of all creators on the platform, less than 0.01% of over 11 million active artists. Only about 4.4% of professional or near professional artists on Spotify earned as much as $131,000 in 2024, roughly a middle class income. Think about that, only 4.4%. And the music industry is saturated. I think that's the other way they're able to rip young people off in the music industry, because everybody wants to be a star. We have all these shows that have come out where the shows are American Idol, and they have people dressing up in costumes now. They have the show where the artists, the celebrities have their back turned to the artist while he sings to gain their attention. So many people want to express themselves and earn a high wage, but come to find out that these people are ultimately being ripped off. This means that the vast majority of artists are earning far less than the streaming growth revenue. I have to say that because it's something that I think people don't really kind of understand. So next time you're following your favorite artist on Instagram and you see them pulling up in a new Lamborghini, you have to ask yourself, did the label pay for that? This person just came out and they're driving in a Lamborghini Urus, or they have a new Ferrari. How is it possible that someone can afford a $700,000 car and you know they're making chicken change? They're making roughly a middle class income. Part 4, other revenue streams and real artist income. Streaming isn't only about income source, but it's the biggest for the record music industry and often the least profitable for artists without a major support. Here's a quick rundown of typical artists' earnings from different revenue streams. This is one of the ways that artists are able to make a different amount of money. That's why you see artists often touring at the last moment, right? Or late into their career. You see some artists still touring. I think Frankie Valli is still on tour. I think he's like 1,000 years old. If it's not Frankie Valli, drop the comments down below. But there's some old people up there touring that have no business on stage touring at this time. So one of the ways that they still make a good revenue is from live performances. Concert income can be much higher. Some mid-level artists make tens of thousands per show, and top artists can make hundreds of thousands or more. Industry surveys vary widely, so it really depends on kind of where you are, if your songs are hot, if you're charting on the billboards, if you're streaming a lot, if people are sharing your music often, then that will make a huge difference in terms of your turnout for the crowd. So album sales, physical CDs and vinyls often pay higher per unit, We don't even have CDs anymore. And I'm sure that was an era when artists would have an opportunity to make more money. Now we don't even own our music. I'm someone who actually utilizes Apple Music. I'm aware that I pay a monthly subscription, but I'm also aware that I don't own any of the music. And if I don't pay that monthly subscription fee, Apple takes my entire catalog back, which I never owned. But it seems to be, I think I do it because it seems to be more feasible than buying every song, right? $1.29 for this song, $1.15 for this song. With Apple Music, I can have 10,000 songs and I pay $16 a month. So is it an equal exchange? Some would say yes, some would say no, but I just never own anything. So roughly $1.50 on every $10 album after royalty splits on traditional deals. That's how much artists are making. Syncing licenses. Songs used in TV ads or movies can bring one-time payments from a few thousands to six figures, but these deals are rare for most artists. So if you're watching a show and you hear your favorite artist's song cut on, or you hear the track being played in the background during one of the scenes, they're potentially earning some money revenue from that. But again, if they're earning money from it, publishers are earning money from it, the record labels are earning money from it, the beat maker is earning money from it. Everyone who is involved is earning money from it. It says, despite all this, most income streams still go through intermediaries. They take cuts, labels, booking agents, publishers, and managers all take a portion. My God. When Wu-Tang used to say, cut the pie 5 ways. For my Wu-Tang clan out there, you guys know what I'm talking about. You're definitely cutting the pie 5 ways, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ways in the music industry. That's why it's so brutal. That's why most people don't survive the industry. That's why you see most of them zonked out on drugs, or you see them just kind of falling off or having mental health breakdowns, because the demand is so great of what they're expected to do and how they're expected to perform, but the return is so low on what they should be receiving. Part 5. It says, why so much is talked about in the music industry is rigged. Why so much in the music industry talked about is rigged. It's rigged, basically. When artists or fans say the music industry is a scam, here's what they usually mean in numbers. Streamings pay fractions of a cent per day, far from enough for artists to live on. Most revenue goes to the labels and platforms first, not the creator. We know this. We've discussed this. Only a tiny percent make meaningful income from streaming alone. Artists can often earn elsewhere, touring, merch, singing, and to support themselves. This isn't to say that artists never make money. The stars certainly do, but the distribution of money is uneven. It's totally uneven for the amount of money that people are supposed to be making in the industry. And the problem that I think that happens for a lot of people is that they never really get a good return on what they should be getting a return on. They kind of fizzle out after a few years. It's often I'll be listening to music, or a song will pop back in, or I'll hear another artist and I'll be like, what happened to this artist? This artist was so hot a couple months or a few years ago, and you don't even hear from them anymore. They probably got burnt out. The music industry uses you like a dirty wash rag, right? They'll wring you out until there's nothing left. And then when you can't produce any more money for them or have any more talent, then they just kind of move on. They have an unlimited list of young people who want to be famous and celebrities in the music industry. So that's why they can treat people the way they do. That's exactly why they can treat people the way they do, because it's an unlimited amount of people. It's an unlimited resource. There will always be young people in this country who want to be celebrities, country music stars, rap stars, hip hop artists, singers, whatever they can do to get into the industry, people are willing to do, which could be a potential another topic. I appreciate you guys sticking with me today on the Voracious Podcast. I'm truly grateful that you guys sat through, listened to my rant about the music industry. I would love to do another part 2 if you find more interest into it, or if there's another topic you'd like me to do, please feel to reach out. Please reach out to me. You can reach me at thevoraciousPodcast@gmail.com. You can also drop a line down in the comments if there's anything you want to discuss or have a dialogue, or if you ever desire for me to go live. Maybe one day we can do that, and I'd love to sit down and talk to the audience about kind of what's going on in the world. Again, this is Anwar here at the Voracious Podcast. I'm truly grateful for all your support, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.